It begins in a dreamlike way, with a girl lying in bed. Someone comes to her, who she calls Daddy. She also mentions the name Kimberly. Scenes of her lying in bed are interspersed with scenes of her walking in the snow with someone. They look at a ruined car and the girl says, Mama. She is Catherine, who then appears in her room looking at a calendar. Many days are crossed out. After crossing out another one, we see the next day says that her parents are there. The next scene has Catherine being brought into Father Brian's office. She attends Bramford, a Catholic school. We learn the man is soon leaving for Albany for personal matters. He asks if she is concerned about something. She says she wants him to stay to see her performance. Shortly after, she smiles to a minimal degree, prompting him to ask if something is funny. But she didn't notice that she did. Nothing is funny, says Catherine. She just wishes him a fun time in Albany. After that, we see another girl walking to get her picture taken. The name Rose appears over her. It seems like she is our initial protagonist. She soon sits in a nurse's office, saying her throat hurts. Subsequently, she sits smoking with her friend. Rose asks her if the girl thinks she should tell something to some guy. We don't know who or what they are talking about. Her friend firmly says she should. Rose also says this guy was doing something to her, which she liked. In the next scene, many girls sit in the auditorium of Bramford. They are there to receive the news about them representing the school today. After the speech, all the girls agree in monotone, showing their apathy to what they just heard. Then we see Catherine singing, as she plays the piano. This is the performance she was talking about with Father Brian. Rose enters the building to watch her perform. Catherine looks at the audience for a moment before continuing. It is currently uncertain, but her concentration could be elsewhere. Following that, we see her sitting in Mr. Gordon's office, along with Rose. Supposedly, the parents of these girls did not come to pick them up, so now they have to stay at the school until their parents arrive. Mr. Gordon asks Rose if she can look after Catherine until that time. Shortly after, Catherine leaves a message to her father over the phone. Later, she stands outside Rose's room, speaking to her. She tells Catherine that she's not babysitting her tonight, but the girl reminds her of what Mr. Gordon said. Rose taunts her for saying that. She tells the younger girl to tell the sisters she is staying in bed. What Rose is doing, however, is getting ready to leave. She also starts talking negatively about the sisters, saying that they have no hair on their bodies, and that someone walked in on them one night to catch them worshipping the devil. It is uncertain why she makes these statements, which are most likely lies. It could just be her bullying nature toward the younger girl. Before leaving, Rose tells her to not enter her room. She goes outside to get into a car with a guy. Disregarding Rose's words, Catherine enters her room. She looks at her hairbrush in an odd way, along with looking at the picture Rose took earlier. Then we see another girl arriving somewhere. She enters the washroom, where she gets a flashback about what appears to be a mental hospital. After removing a band around her wrist somewhat hastily, it becomes evident that is where she might have come from. The girl uses a payphone to call someone, yet the number is no longer in service. Whoever she's trying to call, she has not called them in a while. Next, she takes a map and her eyes stop at Bramford. Sitting at a bus station, the girl gets approached by a man who asks her if she's okay. He also asks if she wants a lift. After that, he introduces himself as Bill. The girl says she is Joan. She agrees to get in his car because he's going in the direction she wants to go. With Bill rides his wife, so that adds to his being more trustworthy. In the back of the car, we see a bumper sticker referring to Bramford School. In the following scene, Rose comes back from wherever she went. The guy with her says to call him, but she doesn't have her phone, so she goes back to school. In the restroom, Rose hears some strange noises coming from somewhere. She wonders what they are, causing her to investigate slowly. Soon she calls out to Catherine, but no one answers her. Going further into her search, she walks through a dark area, where unusual sounds take place. Rose looks through a door to see a person repeatedly bowing near a furnace. Then our view centers on Joan in bed, as if she is the second protagonist. Upon her awakening, she sees a note from Bill about him letting her sleep. It seems strange to have that note there. Did he bring her into this room without her knowledge? It certainly appears that way. Joan goes to her purse and empties its content. We do not see if any item took her interest. In the washroom, she gets an unsettling flashback of a policeman firing his gun. After she showers, she gets a knock on the door from Bill. He comes in to see how she is doing. He is happy to help, yet Joan wants to know why he's doing it. To her curiosity, he asks if she believes in God. She does not. Bill tells her he looks for God in the unlikely things that happen to him. He does not look for him in the usual places. He also tells her she reminds him of someone. Once he found out she was going to the same place as he was, he could not ignore such a coincidence. Bill concludes by saying he saw God in her. Afterward, he says the exact place he is going to, which is Bramford. Joan does not answer him when he asks her if she knows what that place is, though we saw her view centering on it when she looked at the map. Instead, she asks him where his wife is. She is sleeping, he tells her. While it's still early to tell, after that interaction, Bill seems like a decent, caring man. Back at Bramford, Rose talks to someone we don't see. She asks the person if they were sleepwalking. She doesn't get an answer, though we now see she is talking to Catherine. Rose tells the girl she didn't go on a date, but since she still left, Catherine repeats that Gordon said Rose should look after her. She also says it's too late for their parents to come for them. The reason she gives is that they have lost their lives. Rose feels uneasy hearing those words, telling Catherine she shouldn't say that. She says their parents are on their way. When Rose is in her room, she is troubled enough to block her door with a heavy chair. Meanwhile, we see Catherine moving strangely in bed until she curls her body from the backside. With this, we realize something is not right with her. Back to Joan, she comes to Bill in a restaurant. There he tells her she reminds him of his daughter. She would be Joan's age by now. 9 years ago was when they lost her. After saying that, Bill shows her a picture of his daughter. Eerily, the picture reveals Rose. Shortly after looking at it, Joan has the desire to go to the restroom. There she gets a flashback of someone being strangled, and Joan looking at a driver's license she may have stolen. After this episode, she sits in Bill's car, where his wife asks her if he talked about their daughter. She emphasizes that they have one rather than having had one. She also tells Joan that Bill tells everyone they remind him of Rose. However, this is not true, according to her. Joan doesn't look anything like her. For some reason, the lady finishes by saying she can't see Joan at all. The entire time she spoke, Joan didn't say a word to her, and Bill's wife spoke strangely. Back at the school, Rose sees Catherine get off the phone. Catherine says she can live there with him. Rose does not know who she means, so the girl clarifies that it's Gordon. At lunchtime, one of the sisters notices Catherine looking at Rose as she says grace. This prompts the sister to make Catherine say it instead. While the girl is saying it, she laughs. Shortly after, she stands to vomit. Later, we see them all in the nursing room. One of the sisters touches Catherine, which makes her rudely remark not to do it. She says it out of nowhere, like she is possessed. The discoloration around her eyes even seems to be evidence of that. Her words shock all of them. The sister who didn't touch her scolds the girl. Then Catherine tells Rose that Gordon will come to say he was wrong. One part of her statement becomes true, because Gordon arrives with an officer soon enough. He enters the room we last saw them all in, to be shocked at a sight we don't see. What we do see, though, is blood on the doorway. Following that, our narrative focuses on Catherine. We see her crossing out the calendar day again. Inside a bathroom, we see a menacing shadow on the tile wall. Catherine calls her parents, yet a disturbing voice answers her instead. Once she asks who it is, it says her parents are not coming. It also tells her to eliminate everyone. Catherine remembers how Rose told her the sisters have no hair on their bodies. She also remembers looking at her picture. Then Catherine hears the phone ringing. She answers it to hear the voice tell her she can stay there with him. After that, we see both of the sisters badly injured on the floor as Catherine walks past them. She collects a knife to finish the job. With this event, we come to understand that Catherine is very likely possessed. The being on the phone entered her and made her do what he wanted. However, it doesn't look like it just picked anyone because she already looked troubled before. Afterward, we see Rose taking her picture again in slow motion. After it is taken, the girl seems uneasy about something. Back in the present, Rose sits in a restroom stall and calls out to Catherine because she hears something. But the girl is not there. When Rose leaves, she sees the exit doors close. Therefore, she heads for them. Coming out, she finds blood near the stairs. This makes her come back in, where Catherine surprises her by quickly coming out to stab her many times with a determined mindset. The helpless girl falls, possibly losing her life shortly thereafter. The next scene shows the policeman coming to a door with blood on it. Eventually, he comes to the furnace to observe Catherine sitting nearby with 3 heads next to her. She is engaged in an obscene ritual. This prompts the man to point his gun at her, frantically stating that she drop her knife. He urges her to do it, or else he will shoot. But she puts her hands in the air, saying she has Satan. As soon as she yells, the man shoots her. Then we see Joan riding in the car, almost arriving at Bramford. While they ride, Bill's wife asks Bill if he told Joan their daughter was murdered. It makes her start crying. In addition to that, Joan says she feels sick and wants them to pull over. Once they do, she takes the lives of Rose's parents. Does this abrupt, repugnant action have a reason? We knew something was not right with her, though now it seems like there is a strong connection between her and Catherine. At this point, the similarities are very evident. Joan also collects their heads. Following that, Catherine lies restrained in bed. Father Brian comes to her, telling the demon within the girl that it is not wanted here. That is when we see Joan arriving at Bramford School. She looks at a picture of Rose lying on the ground. Then we see Father Brian performing an exorcism on Catherine. The man performs well, because a silhouette of a demonic being stands nearby, supposedly no longer in Catherine. However, the girl doesn't want it to go. This unusual desire of hers proves that she is evil without the demon. Perhaps this is even why it was able to enter her so easily. The final moments have Joan, who is truly Catherine 9 years later, revisiting the furnace. She comes there with her bag containing the 2 heads. It seems like she wants to re-engage in the same ritual. Though when she puts her hand on the furnace, something isn't right. It is uncertain what she thinks, so she stands outside in the snow and starts crying. Her cries are strong, yet they are heard by no one.